Face front, true believers, and welcome to the culmination of the Samaritan path Netflix started us down, where we recap the journeys of the Devil of Hell's Kitchen, the PI who stood up to the Purple Man, the righteous ex-con turned Power Man, and the kid with the glowing fist. In a show where we uncover the stories the Avengers might not disclose, but we will, as we analyze the Marvel microcosm and finally start Divulging Defenders. And tonight we're talking about Season 1, Episode 5, Take Shelter. Yeah.
What? Just come on.
Okay, look. I gave it my all with the intro, Dragon. All right, I gave it my all with the intro, but this is my least favorite episode of Defenders. I think we'll see how. It's between this and Episode 7. I think we'll see how Episode 7 plays on a rewatch. I know Episode 6 has some big things going in. Episode 6, I think, is where it's really going to pick up again. I'm not saying this episode's bad. I'm just saying this episode is kind of just like, all right, it's got a couple cool, neat moments in there. You know, but in general, it's sort of like, okay, we have to get the plot in motion. You know, we kind of have to get all our chess pieces in line. I don't know. I kind of feel like it suffers from that kind of classic Netflix pacing problem. And that's one of the things that Defenders really should have been better at. Just giving you my hot take right off the bat, Dragon. Like I said, I don't think it's a terrible episode by any means, but out of the ones that we've covered so far, I definitely think this was the one I had the least amount of fun with.
All right.
Hot take.
Yeah, it's a hot take, all right. My hot take, I guess, I liked the episode. I think you can definitely start to see a decline in the episode. It's not perfect, and I'll get into the reasons for why that is. But I'm just saying, compared to what I remember from Episode 7, that's why I'm a little baffled. But again, Tiki's kind of addressed.
Well, like I said, I reserve judgment on Episode 7 because I realize that that's also a weak episode, and I'm sure that that's going to have its flaws as well. So keep that in mind. But
this episode gets more, it's a fair amount.
I'm very confident that next episode's going to be better, and I'm also pretty confident that Episode 8's going to be better than this. But it's definitely among the weaker of the 8 episodes we get this season.
All right.
They can't all be winners.
Yep.
You know what I like in it too, Dragon? You know the diamonds analogy with Pixar?
Yep.
This one's like a really nice looking, it's like a really nice looking, really handsome, cool rock. It's got maybe it's got some crystals on it to give it some color, it's not necessarily a diamond, but it's something that you can proudly display along with your diamond.
It's like the most beautiful cubic zirconium you've ever seen. It's so beautiful, it'll make you weep, but it's not actually a diamond.
Exactly. So, all right, I'm glad you're following my really complicated metaphor, Dragon.
It's like, oh my god, it's so beautiful, but so fake.
God.
It's so false, but so flawless at the same time. Look at it.
All these characters are coming together, but they're not really doing much of anything.
It's all there, but at the same time, I'm seeing it come together. I kind of want it there already, but look at it.
All right. Okay, so yeah, enough of our ridiculous analogies, Dragon. Let's dive right into it. Let's get to the plot.
Okay, folks, plot. Very simply, this in a nutshell. Okay, we begin the battle at the Royal Dragon Chinese restaurant that we very much built up to in Episode 4. After Elektra hesitates with Daredevil, the Hand question Alexandra's Black Sky plan. Are we sure about the Black Sky plan? Was this really? Should we really put all of our eggs in one basket with bringing the girl back to life?
The Hand just completely start to fall apart this episode in kind of a glorious fashion.
Yeah, the team regroups at their new hideout and interrogate White Hat, which leads to a race to protect the gang's loved ones, placing them with good old Misty Knight, good old trusted Misty Knight.
Mercedes Knight.
Detective Mercedes Knight. Oh, God rest Pop Hunter. Oh my God. Anyway, so Black Sky, and we end the episode with Black Sky beginning to reboot her Electra shell, if you will. So Electra is she's definitely on a path of she basically we end the episode with Electra taking a nap, and oh my God, look how cute she looks. She's all tuckered out from playing and from splishy splashing in the blood, killing a whole lot of people. Oh, look how adorable she is. Oh, that
I need my nap after my kiddie spree, Matthew.
She's a weapon of mass destruction, but isn't she so adorable? Look at her.
Oh man. Right. Okay. Wow, Dragon, that was just like yeah. That was beautiful, man.
All right. So okay. That's it.
Okay. So it's time to start discerning Daredevil. I was gonna randomly start humming the Terminator theme music for some reason. All right. Anyways.
Okay, so let's see. Where do we go with Matt in this episode? So Matt, he's very Electra-focused and a little distracted by the fact that, oh my God, Electra's back. And again, he had the revelation in the episode back that, she is, in fact, alive. And now he's dealing with the reality of, okay, Electra's back. And as he's learned from Stick in episode 4, hey, it's, she's the Black Sky over Electra. And we knew this thing that she had this in her, but I never knew, it could overtake her completely like this. And Matt is still holding, being a man of faith, you can definitely see he's a kind of a hopeful romantic in a way that he's hoping that he can reach Electra.
Matt's secrets go too far in this episode, and they definitely start to divide him from the core group of defenders. And what I really like about that dynamic, Dragon, is how Stick kind of starts to really come in and kind of take Danny Rand specifically under his wing. And I love how Stick kind of develops this bond with Danny. Of course, I'm talking about Stick because he kind of ties to Matt. But he's like, "Come on, kid! Matt's fucking up, but I'm not. I'll take you in. You might be dumb, but you're strong, and you're the Iron Fist."
It's so fun with that dynamic of, you have just Danny Rand as this wide-eyed kid who's just not really, he doesn't essentially have critical thinking skills where, he's really just, he's like the what-if version. What if Matt Murdock was very eager to be taken under Stick's wing? That's essentially what you have with Danny Rand. The kid's stupid, but, I like him. I don't know why. But seriously, though, with Matt, I love how we utilize Stick here. And again, Stick, we really, for reasons we'll see in the upcoming episodes, Stick, they're doing the kind of the best of Stick in this season here, and Stick is very much complementing all the stuff we've been building up with him and Matt, and we're seeing, Electra and Stick are used to complement Matt's kind of his addiction into vigilantism and kind of that side of his life. Basically, the full kind of, as Matt would define, kind of that sin-filled side of his life. So let's look at Electra and Matt for a moment here, where Electra is, as we know from the end of season 2 of Daredevil, Electra was the big motivating factor behind Matt, giving up the suit. But in this case, with Electra back, I think, as we see in this episode, Matt finally, dons the suit again, which is great seeing him in the suit again. Electra is the motivating factor that brings Matt to don the suit again because he knows it's necessary. And hey, if I'm going to bring Electra back from the brink, I don't want to lead this war. I don't want to acknowledge this war. But I got to be able to fight in this war. So again, he's donning the suit, and he's in it, so we can get Electra back. So that's the reason he's fighting in this war, whether he believes in it or not.
So it's just a really cool, interesting dynamic with him because, of course, in his own mind and in the audience's mind, we can sympathize with him on his noble path. But in the eyes of the defenders, they're just like, what the hell is up with this selfish a-hole? What is he doing?
Yeah, I'll get into it here and there, but the big issue I had this on a rewatch is that I don't really, we'll get into this with other characters, I guess, but I don't really understand why. I think I was a little harsh on Matt in this episode.
I don't know. I think it makes for a fun dynamic because to me, I feel like Matt Murdock in general with the Netflix stuff is kind of put on a pedestal, and it's nice to see him. Like, I'll agree with you that the reactions are a little flawed, Dragon. I'll agree with you that Matt could have messed up a little bit bigger, writing wise. But however, I do think we needed this. I think we needed this this story beat. So I think the actual writing in the story beat could have been better, but I think in terms of the actual story, Daredevil needed to be taken down a peg in the group dynamic. Do you agree with me there?
No, Tika, I absolutely agree with you, but that's what I'm saying, is that what happens is necessary. Yes, I'm just saying when we get to like the end scene of the episode before like a big moment that we're going to highlight later on, like the build up to that moment is just that moment playing out in itself is just for a really silly reason why everyone kind of turns on. Like the fact that he lied, it's fine. I just wish he lied about something a little more substantial. Or if like they doubted him for something like that, none of them would do in his place. They'd all do the same thing if they had to.
No, I totally hear you. I think we're on the same page with this. It was a necessary plot point. It just could have been written a little bit more strongly.
Exactly. So a few other things to Matt here. So again, with him donning the suit again, I love the symbolically that Matt he's in conflict trying to absolve and undo a sin, basically the sin of of Elektra, going around in the suit, kind of giving into that lifestyle, kind of cost Elektra her life, and he's trying to divorce himself from that. But all the time just going off as Matt Murdock, not trying to fall into vigilantism again, but in putting on the suit again to try to fix this, he is just visually, he's diving back into his sin again. He's diving back into, it's like, hey, I'm going to not be Daredevil by being Daredevil again.
Right.
It's snaking its tail. And that's just that's the cosmic joke of Matt Murdock. Cosmically,
so it's kind of like a drug addict, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to beat this thing by having one more hit, darn it. Just one more hit.
I mean, look at the irony here. See, he's accepted. Basically, Matt's arc in this episode is that he's accepted that he's back in it. He's back in the war. He's back in the suit. He's back in. I got to do this. It's who I am. The irony is there's an irony in the fact that he's taking Stick's advice after all these years. Like finally, at the beginning of Defenders, he took the advice of, hey, cut your ties with your friends and just essentially, cut your ties with your friends so you can gear up. So he's kind of taking Stick's advice after all these years, trying to separate himself from something like cold turkey. And now it backfires as Stick says, hey, you should. I tried to protect you from this a long time ago, kid. And cosmically, I think the poetic thing with Daredevil overall with all this is that as much as Daredevil tries to protect his friends and separate them, they will always, they will be in his life always, and that's kind of the tragedy of Daredevil. Again, as much as he tries to protect and separate them, this episode is very much about protecting friends and family and such. And you come to the side and you're just like, hey, I'm not going to bother Karen. I'm just going to kind of went our separate ways. We're still friends.
And of course, you and I, we both know the dreaded comic book fate of Karen Page, and we're just kind of like biting our nails, just like, oh God, Marvel, please bear mercy on us.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of that's the sweetness of like, oh, his friends are always going to be in his life. At the same time, his friends are always going to be in his life, putting up with all this craziness that essentially some of them, let's just say, very gruesome fates in the future. But yeah, he's making compromise to save New York. But again, he doesn't want to give in to Stick's war. So that's like the last thing. That's kind of the last thing we have with Matt here is that he's still trying to fight his father figure in a way. He's trying to fight Stick, kind of the negative father figure in his life through Stick. Where, hey, you have this, Stick's been going on about this war, and because Matt essentially he's geared up to go into this war. He just won't accept it. That's the one thing he's still fighting. That he's in the war. He's kind of leading a ragtag chase, team of kind of ragtag chase with his other super pals, and he doesn't want to be a thoughtless killer. And basically that's a secret too. And I kind of viewed it as he's doing all these things that are in line with Stick's war and his worst nightmare, just becoming a pawn of Stick, basically becoming what Danny Rand's kind of on a path to being, if not careful.
Because Danny Rand's just a dumb, impressionable kid.
Yeah, again, he's not a bad lad, but he's very, very misguided and slow. and
like, hey, you have answers about the hands? Cool.
And just looking into the secret here, my thing is I think he keeps that secret of Elektra, of like, I'm leaving Elektra out of this so I can hopefully reach her on the side and get her out of this before any war escalates and before she's a casualty of something very unnecessary here. That secret that he keeps is to save a piece of himself, and a piece and that piece, of course, secretly divides him from. It's like. It's a seed of mistrust among the team that kind of will physically separate the team, but at the same time, he keeps keeping that secret is like what he's using as a way of emotionally dividing himself from, no, I'm not a leader, I'm not in this war, I'm not leading, I'm not a full-blown, I'm not the quote-unquote hero, again, the dreaded H word for all these guys. I'm not a hero, I'm not leading a super team because I'm keeping this secret. That's like he's keeping that secret as a way of still being on his own. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
That's kind of what I kind of took. I like that level of the secret. I just wish, again, it was something more substantial than, hey, you know, it's a lecture.
Heroes don't lie. But you know what, Dragon? It could just be like Danny Rand's like immature views on heroism, and the other, he's kind of just like rubbing off on the other people.
Yeah, but even just the transitionist, I guess. I mean, Jessica Jones also makes that point. And with Jessica Jones being a PI, I mean, her speaking of truth, that bears a little more weight than Danny Rand.
Very true, very true. So
let's begin.
So Jessica Jones, I feel like she kind of fades into the background a little bit after having a standout episode last episode, which isn't a bad thing at all, I don't think. I think you kind of need to pace these things out. This is very much a Matt-heavy episode. But of course, Jessica gets some great moments. There's a wonderful moment with Black Hat, or with White Hat, I should say, that we will get to. That's among my favorite moments. But really, of course, Jessica Jones, it kind of boils down to... she's uncomfortable with being in the situation, but she realizes that she's kind of forced her hand into it. And so while she's there, she's going to try to make as light of it as she can, but at the same time, you know, acknowledge like, hey, this is, you know, she's kind of there to kind of point out some of the boundaries. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, in doing that with Jessica Jones, we have is, you know, she's at a point where she's kind of like, now she's caught up to where Luke Cage is, essentially. Where Luke Cage, you know, for like he's in it, whether it's silly or not, he's in the thick of it. Jessica Jones, after an additional episode of that, she's now, you know, it's like for better or worse, you know, using the word resurrection 3 times now, whether we're doing that or not, she's along for the ride. Because
well, that's okay. And again, that's another wonderful thing with Jessica Jones that continues throughout the show, is her calling out the ridiculous nature. Like, you realize you just used the word resurrection 3 times in a row.
and why that's perfect, Tiki, is another thing we get with Jessica Jones here, where we do something classically what Jessica Jones is designed for. She's designed for, you know, she gets the short end of the stick in Marvel and just in the comics, but we even bring that quality out in the MCU, where, hey, the Avengers, you know, they fight the Chitauri, and she's viewed as like, oh my God, you're one of those, my family get, I'm thinking like the Gretchen, the actress who portrayed Gretchen Swartz, who appeared like saying, my family was killed because you know, because of you and your super friends, and again, this she's being lumped in with the you know, what do I look like, Captain America to you? What's going on?
Right.
So essentially, she's regretting in her own kind of Avengers-like situation with the Defenders. She is regretting the world of superheroes that she is lumped in with usually. So which is, of course,
you know, from the start of the series, from the start of Defenders, that's the one thing she did not want to do, and she's like, well, she's basically the Rocket Raccoon, you know, the even more cynical Rocket Raccoon. Like, well, shit, we're a bunch of jackasses standing around in a circle. This
now, Tiggy, that's the crossover I die to see. Just a side adventure. Like,
Jessica Jones and Rocket Raccoon.
Imagine like a Marvel one-shot turned into a TV movie of Jessica Jones and Rocket Raccoon. Just like Rocket lands on Earth and they're hanging out.
I would like legit pay, you know, crowdfunding money to see that happen, Dragon.
How great would that be? And then, I don't know, like, let's say, Trish would be paired with Groot. You have Trish and Groot, and Groot would be on the radio show with her.
Yes. Oh God. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, and then Groot would be like, he'd be holding like really, really deep discussions with people too.
There'd be radio callers like calling and asking advice or trying to talk.
Oh my God. Oh, that's perfect. Oh. And at that point, Groot would be like kind of like middle-aged Groot, so he'd kind of like have like a goatee, and you know, like I don't know.
Yes, he'd have like a God, yes, he'd have the facial, yeah. Okay, anyway, sidetracked.
So getting it back onto point with Defenders, though, Dragon, I want to go into Trish. You know, I really love the story that we get with Trish and the radio show and, you know, covering it up and that whole conspiracy. I just really wish there was a lot more of it, because it sadly feels like an interesting idea that just kind of gets pushed to the sidelines. It's like, here's this idea for Trish to kind of have in her story, but I just feel like not a lot's done with it. And I think that's kind of a shame, because I gotta say, out of all our side characters that we get in this episode, Trish is one that really stands out. I mean, of course, it's good to see the Foggy and Karen reunion, but I just, there's something really empowering about the Trish Walker character.
Yeah, I mean, Trish is great, and I'm very excited to see where we're going to go with her, because we know she, in the comics, dons a costume. So, I mean, it's very interesting to see how far... And honestly, what's fascinating with Trish in this episode is that, Trish, she sees a vigilante firsthand, and that's exactly what her future entails for her.
Exactly.
Donning a costume and, kind of fighting crime. But yeah, you're right, T. Now, with Trish, it's funny, and again, we'll see how this goes, and rewatching it here, because I remember Trish, I remember she helped out, like, that whole plot line. I remember her helping out, but going through it again, I'm realizing, like, yeah, we kind of, we go a long time before we check back in with that whole, the earthquake conspiracy plot.
And like I said, I think it's a really interesting storyline, and I just wish that, like, even have it, be a minor plot thread, but just have it, condensed into, 2 or 3 episodes and not so stand out. You know what I mean? I
tell you, even though we use Trish sparingly like that, as you're saying, it's going a long way. But also, what I love so much in that same scene where we're kind of name dropping, like, hey, we should get some investigative reporters to kind of go through this whole earthquake business. Which, again, is nice and proactive. We give Trish something to do, which is always good. Again, it feels very much like, like for a snippet, we're in Jessica Jones' show here. And the moment that it really speaks to me is, like, again, where Trish is always very much Jessica's surrogate, surrogate sister. It's always like, Trish is like, she's getting Trish out of. Trish is her first priority. I got to get Trish out of this dangerous situation, get her out of there. And, of course, it leads to a really nice bonding, a moment where the bond that Jessica Jones reluctantly is making with Matt Murdock really pays off, where Daredevil swoops in and saves her surrogate sister and herself.
Yeah, nice.
And again, in some ways, also kind of inspires Trish like a little subtle, which might pay off down the line as well.
Okay, anything else with Jessica?
Yes, well, Jessica, again, ninjas are not her forte, because we see she's at a big disadvantage against these ninjas. I forgot how much of a disadvantage.
Because it makes so much sense. Yeah, I think we highlighted this before, that, like Matt and Iron Fist are both martial artists, as is Stick, and Luke Cage is, of course, the bulletproof man, who I'm sure has had some combat training.
We saw in the prison. He's a trained fighter, Tiki.
Exactly. Right.
He's trained.
So, it makes so much sense that Jessica Jones, the alcoholic private eye, even though she has the power, she would definitely be at a disadvantage in a fight. And with that in mind, I really like how natural some of the fight sequences are in this show. They're not the most elaborate outside of the coveted hallway fight, but, they still get the job done in showcasing the characters' different abilities, I think.
Sure. All right. Well, I don't want to give away too much stuff, Jessica, because we do have a scene later on with kind of gets in some extra stuff.
Get back here, Jessica! All right. So moving on?
Yes, moving on.
Okay, moving on. Let's get to unlocking Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Power Man.
Luke Cage!
Luke Cage! Oh, God.
Okay, anyway.
Oh, so many memes about Luke Cage. Oh, Jesus.
Anyway. So, Luke, he's definitely showing his adaptability in a crazy situation here. Where, again, he's kind of like a step ahead of Jessica in her character arc, and that, he's down for all this craziness, and we see he's very useful in the thick of things, to say the least. He's responsible for catching White Hat.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And
I like how in catching White Hat, it's sort of like all right, are we gonna really do this? It sort of kind of pushes the line of the show. You know what I mean? It kind of pushes it into some more this whole episode is kind of a prisoner's dilemma for them.
Yeah, just without a hot shower, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal, you were good in that film, as well as you, Jack.
God.
Anyway, seriously, folks, check out Prisoners if you haven't already.
Check out all of Denis Villeneuve's filmography, in all seriousness. Like Prisoners, Enemy, freaking Blade Runner 2049, Arrival, great filmmaker. Anyways, also check out hotchocolatemedia.net.
Wait, he did Arrival? That was him?
Yeah, he did Arrival.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Arrival
so...
was not a Blade Runner.
Okay. Anyway, so we have some classic, Luke being tailor-made to work for a be part of a team. And again, but he will not admit it at the same time, though. Again, it's like a guy who's like, "Oh man, that Luke Cage! If only he could pair up with a member of the Defenders and start."
I know, right? But you know what, Dragon? That's never going to happen because we don't have any comic history that would reflect such a team up. So I think we should just kind of hang our heads in shame and just give up on that ever happening.
Yep, if only. Yep, if only. Okay, but in all seriousness, facetiousness aside, seriously though, I do like that again with Luke. We hammered on the head that he is tailor made to be. He's really good working on a team, and he's very useful on a team. And again, he'll never admit it, but again, he's like his future is in teamwork.
Well, of course, like visually, we see him just stopping all the bullets. That's like a go-to thing with him in the show. Yep. Like literally having people's backs.
Yep. After Cole Miller, he's very. He's very worried about Claire, and we had a really nice. It's a brief scene. It's really nice. Luke doesn't get a lot to do in this episode, but he does have important stuff to do.
I feel like this is the point we're gonna have to kind of check on this going forward. But this is the point where I feel like Luke kind of fades into the background. Like
I don't think you're wrong necessarily.
I feel like after Black Hat, after the fate of I'm sorry, I keep calling him Black Hat. After the fate of White Hat in this episode. Like White Hat was kind of like his big call to action this season. So, like I said, we'll trace it. It'll be interesting to see going forward what Luke's story arc ends up being.
I know Luke has a couple important scenes. I just forget if that just trails off after episode 6 or not. So
right.
We'll see where that goes. I forget if we just do it all in another episode. Then he's just in the background, like you're saying.
So, like I think it's worth noting, Dragon. Yeah. You're are you ahead of me?
Well, no, I just remember episode 6. I haven't rewatched it quite yet.
Okay, so that's worth noting that Dragon and I going through these, it's kind of like we did it. Like the reason why we're doing it so late is A, scheduling, B, to get it out, like before Jessica Jones season 2, because obviously this connects more with Jessica Jones than it does to Punisher. And I think most importantly, Dragon, to get that rewatch factor and, kind of, and we did this with Luke Cage as well, to kind of separate that, that initial hype going into that first watch, that first binge, with sort of like rewatching it, taking it in episode by episode, really having time to digest each episode, looking at each episode as its own product. So I think in that regard, I feel like we're going about it in a really good way. With rewatching and kind of picking up all the individual pieces as it goes along.
Right. So, after what happened to Cole Miller and learning, again, what the hand is capable of.
Oh, my babies is gone.
That's dirty pool, Tiki. Don't try that.
I know that is a dirty pool.
Using poor Dolores Miller like that. How dare you? But yeah, after what happened to Cole Miller, basically being intimidated by the hand and killed, making it look like an accident within the prison. That's after seeing what the hand is capable of firsthand, which is why he's very, again, more than Jessica Jones, he can buy into the danger and all the mysticism of the hand, like whether it's crazy or not. I've seen what these guys have done firsthand. The minute a threat is issued to their loved ones, he knows that, oh my God, Claire is in trouble, and he's very worried over Claire. With the hand, with their threat, and of course leads to for Luke Cage. I like how Luke is responsible, as Luke would always be, for protecting people. He goes to a person that he trusts in Misty Knight. So Misty, I like that all of our stuff with Misty Knight is bridging from Luke Cage's kind of quality there. Mm-hmm. And definitely his by the end of the episode for Luke, his trust is definitely shaken in Daredevil with all the Elektra stuff. And it's kind of like, Luke, it's one step forward, 2 steps back.
I feel like Luke at this point, he's kind of like the adult in the room. He's like, well, I guess I have to stick in this or else these kids are going to get hurt.
Yeah, that's the thing. Unfortunately, I think Luke, out of all of them, he unfortunately, again, I hate to say this, again, he's the one who really has to spell out the flaw in the writing on the whole, like, you lied to us.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I
And also, I
agree.
think there's this is weird because it's a weird typo. I don't know if you caught it in the line where it says there are people I care about. Or again, I gotta wonder when he says there are people he cares about. I know there's he cares about Claire very obviously, but I thought he has to be counting Misty in that. But aside from that, I mean, I don't because they're going to Misty. Is there anyone else in that group that Luke really? I mean, he just met Colleen. That's the thing. I don't know if he's. I just think it's like a plural flaw in that statement that he made. Like there might people I care about are in danger.
Right,
Luke,
right.
it's only really Claire. Anyway, who am I to correct Luke Cage's grammar? Who am I?
You're no one, Dragon. Don't you dare try and correct Luke Cage's grammar.
Anyway,
Anyways, so moving on then?
moving on up.
Okay, well, not necessarily. Because it's time to get to this asshole.
Oh, come on. Let's not be petty.
Interpreting Iron Fist.
It's like interpretive dance, only worse.
Alright, that was still petty. It was just a little bit more eloquent than mine.
Okay, anyway.
I don't know. Iron Fist, I feel like in this episode kind of devolves a little bit, where like it's in a funny way, but I feel like he's clearly the most useless out of all the defenders. Like he's kind of running around with like a chicken with his head cut off. He really doesn't know what to do with the situation.
Now, while I have fond memories of Episode 6, I remember Iron Fist being kind of the basically. What we do here, from what I remember, is what we see in this episode. We have the setup for how Iron Fist really kind of he does most of the chicken with his head cut off stuff. I think in the next episode, he does more of like he very much is a slave to plot, not in a good way. In the next episode, this kind of cues him up there, and I kind of had an observation watching it here that I think kind of explains it. And I feel bad for this because again, we have to kind of throw some shade at Colleen here, but Colleen essentially kind of plays Yoko in this episode.
Colleen, yeah, I feel bad for that too, but I feel like Colleen was really mishandled, and going forward in this show in general, I'm kind of curious to see if she redeems herself by the end or not, but this was definitely a strike against her, I think.
You know what I'm talking about, though, when I say, she does play Yoko with the
No,
Iron Fist.
I know exactly what you mean. She's just kind of like the sour grapes in the room who's sort of just getting in the way more than anything else over just these these minor grievances. You know what I mean? That shouldn't be the way that Colleen is, and that definitely wasn't the way that Colleen was written in Iron Fist Season 1. She was, kind of everyone's favorite character in Iron Fist Season 1.
Yeah, let's see. So just kind of seeing where the two of them kind of meet up on the Iron Fist stuff here. So Iron Fist, mainly through Colleen, but Iron Fist, he's reminded of his connection to the hand, which very much angers him. Via Colleen basically being reminded of the trauma. They have a car scene. They have a scene within a car where basically they're on a stakeout after. Okay, we got a hand. If I'm right, I believe. I forget if they're outside of Luke's apartment or if they're outside of Colleen's apartment. The point is, Colleen and Danny are basically staking out the place so they can get a jump on the hand. That's the plan. Whether it's like they're providing backup for Luke and then jumping the hand, or just they know they're gonna try to get Colleen. I think it has to be Colleen's because Bakudo shows up. It has to be Colleen's. The point is
here for you, Colleen.
Okay, so the point is, Colleen, she's basically bringing up a lot of like all of her personal kind of demons from her being manipulated by the hand, which unfortunately I think. And I'm gonna say this much about it, is that I feel the reason Colleen gets the kind of the short end of the writing stick in this episode is because she has to shoulder the most confusing plot line from Iron Fist. And we're bringing that back in this episode, the whole like good hand, bad hand, because we have to acknowledge that with her. Because again, she was manipulated by the hand. That's the simple way of putting it. That's what they do in this episode. But that's still bringing up a lot of like.
No, I mean you're not wrong, and the Bakudo stuff had to be addressed, and just to address it now, Dreg, because I feel like Bakudo's kind of disconnected enough from the rest of the hand this episode. I think Bakudo and Colleen's scene together is a lot of fun because, like Colleen is just so like like, you're supposed to be dead. And Bakuto is just, like, so professional. It's like, no, it's me calling. Come join me. I'm going to show you a better way of life, Colleen. There's just something really, really amusing about it, Trey. I don't know if it's just me, and I think it's definitely kind of speaking to my quirky, sort of like so bad it's good sensibilities, but it was fun.
Let me say this, though. I think with Colleen, the element I like what they're going for with Colleen, I think, and I like this direction they're trying to go in. Again, I don't think they succeed, but I like what they're aiming for here. Is that I think what they're trying to do in that car scene, where she's basically really saying, "Oh my God, Danny, the hand's horrible," is that she's reflecting. It's reflecting the toll that all of this mysticism, all of this ridiculous kind of the war stuff that's going on here. That again, Jessica Jones kind of points out for the novelty of it. Is like we get to see the serious version of that on Colleen, where all the toll, all of this mysticism in your life takes on a person. Where like you grow up thinking you're part of like a nice like inclusive kind of lifestyle, and you realize, oh my God, like the college that kind of like gave me scholarships and taught me everything, that practically raised me, that was indoctrinated me, was a cult, was a freaking cult, man. Mm-hmm. It's gonna have a toll on you, and that kind of gets Colleen to this. Where my big issue with the Iron Fist and Colleen stuff is here was that where Colleen. She pulls an accidental Yoko on Danny in that she is fueling his hand impulsiveness. And like, oh my God, the hand there, they ruined up. They had this, they did all this bad stuff to me, they did all this bad stuff to you. Can you really trust these guys?
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially, it's like, and basically she's fueling the fire for the next episode of like, hey, you've got to do something impulsive next episode, right? Oh, yeah. God.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Dragon. It's unfortunate, because we really do want to like these two, Dragon, you and I, when it comes to the Marvel stuff in general. I've always been more cynical than you, but generally speaking, I feel like I've been very positive about most Marvel stuff that comes out. Maybe Homecoming notwithstanding, that's a different story, but anyways.
That's an argument for another day.
Oh,
I know. Regardless, and here's where we kind of all that Yoko kind of bolstering does to Danny here is I think the last place we leave Danny is that he knows, and again he's been made aware of this, and basically Colin kind of inflates his ego on this, where he's going to try to utilize it in the coming episodes. Danny now knows that he holds the cards for the hand's plan. And, Alexandra coming to him last episode saying, hey, come to our side. And, of course, realizing, hey, wait a minute. This fist, it's the bargaining chip. I'm the MacGuffin.
Oh, God.
Hey, Luke, I'm the MacGuffin. Shut up, Daddy. Hey, Jessica, I'm the MacGuffin.
You're Mick Gruff, the crime dog?
No, I'm the MacGuffin.
Whatever you say, kid. Can I buy some pot off of you?
It's okay anyway. All right, so Iron Fist aside.
Yeah, okay. Moving on.
So we go from the fist to the hand.
God.
Some would say
Dragon,
hand
I
over
just want
fist,
to point out these
hand.
These four idiots.
Technically 5.
I'm speechless, Dragon. I am these 4 idiots. They have no. Oh my God, Dragon. I think this is the problem that everyone has with this series in general, Dragon. It baffles me. It really baffles me. It's like basically once Bakuto enters the picture, the whole power structure just starts to fall apart. It's like some people are calling for Elektra to, like Elektra was a bad idea, and then like other people are just like one of them gets kidnapped. Like you said, it's technically 5, and that's never happened before. It's like these people are just so incompetent. There is one really cool moment with Madame Gao, though, Dragon.
It was a funny moment with Madame Gao I really liked too, but go on.
Well, the cool moment I was talking about was when the defenders were escaping, and of course they have to go down the sewers. By the way, Dragon, I felt like Jessica Jones should have made a Ninja Turtles reference.
I mean, I'm trying to think. Like when she was a kid, like when did the Ninja Turtles start? Like what year was that?
Like I want to say Ninja Turtles was like late 80s. I feel like it would have lined up with Jessica's age.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because also, it's like it's like she had that trauma too. Like she probably wouldn't be. It depends. Like before, or after the accident. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, true. It just seems like, anyways.
Because Peter Quill knows about the Ninja Turtles. It means it's been around since the 80s. So
okay, point being, I just love the badass moment where Madame Gao, they have that whole barricade across the door, and she just goes to it. And it's like we don't even see her strike it, but we see the fridge just like go flying. The door just go flying off. It's like
the dumpster. It's like a giant dumpster.
Right. So Madame Gao is still badass, but unfortunately, just collectively as a whole, the hand sucks.
Well, okay. Let me say this, and let me get some positives. There's definitely some faults in the hand this episode, but let me start by saying with Madame Gao is for just a fun thing I noticed because this kind of bothers me. We don't do enough of this towards the tail end of the show, but I like that on the rewatch. I completely forgot that I did get my wish a little on this. Jessica Jones. There's a moment in this episode where she kind of pulls like a Hellboy 2 move, where in Hellboy 2, Hellboy, he like basically punches a troll who's disguised as an old lady like across the room, and Jessica Jones, she punches Matt. Because she keeps getting faced at the end of the season. You'll notice she gets pitted against Madame Gao a couple times, and from what I remember the first time I watched, it's like, come on, I want to see Jessica Jones punch this old lady across the room. It'll be awesome.
Right.
And here we got it. I completely forgot. It's because all the craziness going on there. It's like, yeah, he punches her in this one frame, and she goes across the room, and it's awesome.
God,
hooray!
But I think intentionally for the story, you can see that Alexandra is very quickly losing grasp of the situation.
And that is that's kind of counterproductive of all the great build that we had with Alexandra, and that's kind of something we're going to notice in these couple episodes with Alexandra.
Which, of course, building to what we know about Episode 6, Dragon. I gotta say, Episode 6 in general is the one that I've been looking forward to talking about on the podcast the most, just because I feel like it's the most controversial move of the season. It's the big twist that everyone talks about, and I feel like there's a lot to digest with that. So everything else has kind of just been building to that with the hand.
Well, the other thing with 6-2 to remember, and something that complements that, is that our guy does that one. Steven Zurich, our Episode 8 guy, does that episode.
Ah, yes, of course.
And Steven Zurich's such a good director, man. Anyway, so what I was going to say is about the hand. So the hand, I like that, again, that we kind of built in the last episode. Basically, they were getting the group together. Unfortunately, again, as we've established, the payout was not what we were expecting. But the retaliation of, hey, these guys have teamed up, so let's get our own team together. Let's bring together the 5 fingers of the hand. It'll be awesome.
Not so much.
The opening, and we'll get to this with.
But I like that though. I like how they're literally in groupthink like that. Like, you know what? We got the Avengers, we got these stupid Defender guys that Danny Rand's going around with. We got to form our own super team.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Like Sinister Six before Sinister Six, Dragon.
That's what I'm saying to you. So I appreciate the construction of the idea here. Where again,
unfortunately, like 3 out of 5 of these guys are just complete buffoons.
Not counting Elektra, yes.
Well, yeah, I don't really count Elektra in it at all, just because of stuff going forward with Elektra.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm literally just talking about the people in this photo specifically. Like basically 3 out of 4 of them are complete buffoons.
Yeah. Well, again, Alexandra in the beginning there, I'd go half on Alexandra because again, look, let me break it down a little here. So again,
Murakami is a buffoon. I mean, can we agree on that?
I was gonna tear him down, man. I want to get that. I want to tear Murakami down because he pisses me off. Anyway,
okay, go ahead.
So again, I like we have the branches of the hand. Each one to kind of bring something to the table here. We have Alexandra and Elektra, and she's bringing the Black Sky. We have a White Hat with his Harlem Youth. I'm convinced that the guys with the guns. You have the mask up. I'm pretty sure that's the Youth of Harlem, but I can't confirm that. The point is he has guys with guns. Murakami and Gal being Murakami, of course, bringing just kind of the traditional hand ninja approach, which again, I'll get to Murakami. Oh, don't be worried. and Gal bringing Gal being the most competent of the leadership styles amongst the group. Again,
absolutely. Gal is like the one person Gal is like, she's like a Twinkie, Dragon. She's like a character Twinkie in that no matter how much crap you throw at her, she's still cool.
More of, all right, sure. Yeah. Okay.
You know, it's like she survived Iron Fist intact. She survived like this group of idiots.
She's the survivor pastry, essentially.
Right.
So yeah, here's the thing. So what I like is that we foreshadow both of our groups simultaneously are coming undone. So the hand comes. The problem is the hand shouldn't come undone first. That's the issue.
That's exactly the problem. The hand comes undone almost immediately.
See, that's the thing. It's not a bad idea what they're trying to do here. Again, both teams unravel. But the problem is it should be reversed. Like again, the defenders become unraveled by the end of this. But again, it should be just complete. You know. That's the thing. Like again, Elektra being the thing that unravels them is not a bad idea either. But again, like way too soon. Like they all come together, and it's like it's
and
basically
Bakudo is just off on his own stupid mission, doing God knows what throughout the episode.
If Defenders is come as you are, then the hand is come together.
Oh my god! Yes, but the really incompetent metal version of "Come Together" from Justice League.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's
like not the Lennon version.
Sure. Sorry, that's what I was trying to go for. Yeah. So Black Sky being utilized as the thread that is unraveling the group. Again, not a bad idea, and with the doubt and the distrust that Elektra has, like the one good thing that Murakami brings to the table is that, he says they're working, it's Daredevil. Iron Fist is working with Daredevil, and that means, hey, Daredevil, he was there when she died, which means he can snap her out of it, which is not good. And Bakudo showing up with the well-trained reinforcements. They lose one of their competent guys in white hat, Sawandi. And by the way, they have to. I'm convinced they have to call him Sawandi because this episode he does not wear a white hat, so that's why they call him Sawandi all over the place.
God.
And with White Hat, he's the competent warlord who has his experience. And,
but you're right, he is like the one other competent person, and he just gets taken off of the freaking equation.
Yeah, I remember he has that great story for Stick.
Yeah, of course.
About being the warlord who.
Oh man, I don't know, Dragon. It's just like I definitely feel the complaints that people have about the hand. Like basically in Daredevil season 2, I feel like the hand was just kind of boring and generic, whereas in Defenders, I feel like the hand. Like the conceit is good. It's just like it's entertaining to watch, but they're just bad at their job. Really, that's what it comes down to.
So yeah, speaking of bad at their job, Murakami, my guys, Murakami.
Go ahead. You have the floor here.
So Murakami leads the slow mutiny. That's essentially what his role is, and let me tell you why Murakami blows this episode so much. Is that Murakami? He's been built up. Now, Tiki, it's very simple why Murakami doesn't work for the kiddies out there. It's very simple why Murakami doesn't work. We build up Murakami as like, hey, he's the guy who trained Nobu. He gave us Nobu. Isn't he scary? Oh, look at him. Isn't he scary? And again, I'm exaggerating that, but at the same time, he does do these things, and they are building up the expectation. This guy's going to be a tough customer. He's going to be someone to go. He's the answer to dealing with a Daredevil or an Iron Fist in terms of skill. And Murakami here, he's easily taken out in his big scene where he goes up against Jessica Jones, who again
just easily, just like boop.
Like that whole scene, I love the rescue there. I love the save, but at the same time, though, when you realize who that is, like, oh my god, of all people to attack. I mean, Jessica Jones, yeah, she'd be toasty against Murakami, but Daredevil swoops in. I know Daredevil's a skilled fighter. I got that. We got that. He has experience fighting ninjas. We got that too. But at the same time, you tell me a guy who trained Nobu, we built up all this fear and dread for. I mean, he has a cool. Again, say what you will about all the gripes we have against the hand, all the issues with the hand this episode. You have to admit one thing. They have a fantastic introduction at the beginning of this episode.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'll definitely agree to that. I mean, I think it's unfortunate that the rest of the episode just frankly does not live up to that at all, Dragon, because I feel like it's effort kind of wasted. But no, the intro to the hand in this episode, I'm glad you bring that up because I was kind of so miffed by the rest of the episode. I almost forgot about that, but it is really, really good.
And that's the thing. Like Murakami's a great entrance, and I think like the last, if you can actually pinpoint it, Tiki, the last great Murakami moment, aside from that daredevil bit, is when he jumps through the skylight.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it. He has a great entrance. That's it. That's it. And then that's
it's all downhill from there.
So when he's fighting, he's fighting Daredevil and Jessica Jones. And mainly, if you're fighting Daredevil, you'd imagine he would have more difficulty than when he was fighting Nobu. He went a lot of rounds with Nobu. He takes the guy out in like an instant.
Yep.
And if Jessica Jones didn't jump the gun, if she didn't punch him off the side, he would have been done before. It would have been toast. What's going on?
All right.
So just Murakami, just disappointing. I will say this though, with Bakudo, just to give Bakudo something. I do like the way he acknowledged the grudge that Bakudo and Gao had. Like, hey, you took me prisoner last season, man. We were at each other's throats last season.
That's true. That's true.
One bit of continuity on there. Like I think that was the show's way of acknowledging the ridiculousness of the hand plot in Iron Fist by saying, yeah, well, we're working together now. We made it.
All right. So let's move on to Excelsior Expectations.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, let's see. So, again, the opening scene. That's just the bring up the opening scene.
Like I said, unfortunately, not a lot of payoff to that, but it is very well constructed with the opera music and everything like that. All the great shots of them rolling in. Again, Dragon, it's just sort of like the two-headed coin of that whole thing is it gets you pumped up for these characters, but rewatching it, you know that they're not really going to fulfill the potential.
I mean, I love the classical music because also that's a signature of Alexandra from the whole classical music thing we had episodes earlier. So again, remember, she's the leader of this group, unfortunately. Okay, look, I don't mean that unfortunately was uncalled for because again, Sigourney Weaver, I still think she's bringing it. It's just like the writing is starting to slowly fail her.
I feel like Alexandra, she's kind of just like a very competent leader who just has the unfortunate character flaw of cracking under pressure really easily.
Here's the problem. Here's why she cracks under pressure. Here, Tiki. Well, I mean, the reason I think Alexandra starts to falter in the writing is that she doesn't have a response to what everyone's saying. And that's
I think that's the problem. And I think maybe she's right. I don't know, Dragon.
That's the thing. Again, so Weaver, I want to make clear. Weaver,
I feel like we kind of need to table this for episode 6 because that's when we really get into the meat of Alexandra. But I feel like some of the timidness of her character in this episode is kind of intentional, building up to that.
Because she can't really logically, she can't argue her way out of this mutiny. And like her, I kept going back, and every time I watch this episode and then I rewatch it for note taking and stuff, I'm rewatching. What is her response to this? And it's like not real. It's not real. Like she kind of distracts. She doesn't really say anything. It doesn't, and that's a big gaping flaw in your logic and your writing. But again, Sigourney Weaver, she's still delivering with that whole. She has that great daughter speech though with Elektra. Like, I had a daughter once, years ago, and I had to basically had to make a sacrifice. And again, that was a excellent scene, excellent performance. Again,
okay, that is a good scene, but it's also kind of like what we were talking about beforehand, Dragon. I feel like every time we get an Elektra scene like that, it's just more of the same. It's more just hammering in like, like you're my daughter now. I do have to do what I want you to do, but I love you.
Yeah, and the whole the threat of like, hey, if you're not the blacks, if you're not the Black Scout, that means you're dead to us.
That's what I'm saying. It's.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like we're hitting very similar beats with Elektra and Alexandra every time we check in with them.
Yeah, and they did such a great job at the first time. We don't really need a lot of that to
right.
Okay, let's see. So again, starting the opening scene, which again is I love how it links up to. I like how it links up, so we don't it's a great way of subverting where you think we're going to start the episode, showing again shows you how competent the hand is, and then just second later, nope. Okay, so with that, though, let's say this. The fight choreography, I think, is really good, and a lot of people always griped about Iron Fist thing, and I still never got what the big gripe was with Iron Fist fights. So regardless, I think for those people who criticize, I think it improved in this episode for them, because now they have the other fight choreographer. Most likely they have the Daredevil fight choreographers working on this. So I think it's...
Yeah, and as I said, this episode does a really good job of kind of showcasing everyone's powers individually in the action.
Yeah.
I think kind of just conceptually with it's almost kind of another bottle episode we get here with the white hat situation, and as I said, they get kind of a prisoner's dilemma here. You know, kind of some moral quandaries being brought up.
Yep. I love how we're progressively in this episode. We're getting more spectacle and progressively more of the big comic book stuff. Again, I've always mentioned with Iron Fist and comparing Iron Fist and Luke Cage, you have a two-part mixture for a really good Netflix series. We have the pathos and character, as well as the big kind of splashy brought from a comic type stuff. And here we have Luke Cage getting hit by a bus. We have decapitations, and we have like Madame Gal using magic and punched across the room by a woman, like by a drunkard with super strength. So there's a lot of great comic book stuff in here. I love how in this episode, actually, from I read this somewhere, this episode has all the supporting like everyone, like roughly 15 characters.
Oh yeah, that is important to mention for sure. Is that it is very much kind of like the Infinity War of the Netflix universe in that regard.
It's not necessarily 65 or like 63, but it's 15.
Yeah. You got Malcolm in there, you got Karen Page, you got Foggy, you got Misty Knight, you got Trish, of course.
If we continue to see urgency in the aftermath, which is a quality I really liked that we got last episode, we continue to get it here. Kind of the aftermath. We got a threat has been issued against our loved ones. We got to act on this like now.
And that is one good thing about the show, pacing wise, is I feel like it all kind of fluidly connects to each other. You know what I mean? Each episode very much is like the momentum keeps up, I think. Yeah. Like I don't feel like the momentum necessarily keeps up like in the actual like root of the episodes per se, but I feel like there's always a good reason to watch the next episode, and it always ties in pretty well.
Sure.
All right.
Let's see. So there was a nice tender scene between Luke and Claire that we were kind of talking about earlier. So we got some tenderness in the midst of all this, urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Glenn is stick, and we're going to be singing some praises for him.
Dragon, episode. I'm not ready. Dragon.
Oh, just watch The Leftovers. You'll be fine.
Yeah, and he does survive The Leftovers, which is comforting.
There you go. Let's see. So again, we have the interrogation scene and Charlie. I love Charlie Cox's performance within the interrogation, very very much so, and just the location, as Tiki was mentioning. The Rand purchased the shelter, hence the episode's title, "Take Shelter," is a good setting.
Mm-hmm.
Sawandi, or White Hat, he gave a great final performance. I'll give him that much. Again, we did stuff with White Hat. Unfortunately, it was the last.
I feel like White Hat, it's like he had less screen time and less build-up than Murakami, but he ultimately is probably going to be the more memorable character.
And I looked into it. I think he was. I looked into it. It looks like he was an original character for the show.
That makes sense. Okay.
Which again kind of fits.
I keep thinking the comparison that he feels like if Luke Cage was like a 70s G.I. Joe style show, he would be a villain in it.
He feels very like kind of that blaxploitation era Luke Cage type of bad guy. And again, in concept, like the whole White Hat concept before we learned he's part of the Hand and everything. Even so, he was still funny. I think he gave a good performance in there. Okay, the big thing I got to highlight here. Big thing I love so much in this episode is like the only thing competing for like what the main screenshot of the episode would be. Oh my god, I love the lighting fusion, because we always have these lighting themes with a lot of our characters, and we fuse together in the big, we reveal Daredevil back in the costume in all his glory, kind of rescuing Jessica and Trish. Mm-hmm. I love that we fuse. I think they're in the Empire State Building, because I know like we see an establishing shot of a building, if not very close looking to the Empire State Building. It might be like a cafe or something in there. I don't know all the various floors of the Empire State Building. Regardless, they're in a building that is lit really nicely. And you have a fusion of red light, which of course signifies Daredevil, and a fusion of purple light, which signifies Jessica Jones and all of her traumas. And we fuse that together in the scene where they're running for their lives from Murakami, and and Daredevil enters, and again, it's that fusion of that kind of harsh reddish purple lighting. It's like it signifies the team up that happens when they fight together. And it's great.
Yeah, I'll have to look for that next time, Dragon. I didn't really catch that.
Oh yeah, I mean it was that whole when he comes back. That's the lighting. It's really big and prominent. The whole scene's lit with like red and purple to fuse together. Yeah.
No, I mean I knew it. Like I noticed that it was really good lighting. I didn't really notice the character ties to it. So that's nice.
Lastly, what I got is, of course, we got a lot of kind of great crossover appeal, because here's a biggie, Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, and while Colleen's not in rare form, at the very least, we paired together in the comics the equivalent to Heroes for Hire, which was the Daughters of the Dragon, which was one that they referenced in Iron Fist. That's Colleen's nickname, is the Daughter of the Dragon, but together as a team, they were the Daughters of the Dragon. So, hey, Misty and Colleen, all right.
Okay, so it's Dragon, if you wouldn't mind muting your microphone for a second.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. All right, folks, let me unplug my headphones, make sure my volume's up, and get my sound cue ready, because it's time for some Netflix Nirvana. Do 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 do. All right, Dragon.
Yes.
Okay, so
Tiki, we're kind of missing the Netflix Nirvana.
Oh, my bad. I was so focused on the sound. God, I was so focused on the sound cue. I forgot about the visual. All right, there we go.
See, we were so stunned by the awesomeness of that sound cue. Okay. All right.
I believe you have the chronological first scene, Dragon. So why don't you go?
Well, yeah, we both kind of have the two for here. It's kind of spread out. So I guess I'll order it like that. So again, yes, chronologically, I have kind of our end to the kind of our extended cold open, if you will, because it's not exactly like a scene then cut, but it's technically the end of the cold right before the credits. Okay, so Luke Cage, after he gets hit by a bus, he's facing Whitehead, and you're like, oh my god, what's going to happen? Luke Cage just got hit by a bus. Oh, what was us? And of course, then the rest of the episode that kind of happens, and then at the end, Luke Cage just kind of wanders into the Chikara Dojo, and Mike Coulter, he delivers a bit. There's this Mike Coulter is a genius at how he delivers this bit here, and it's such a perfect moment for Luke Cage. And it's Luke Cage. He looks like he's been through the ringer. He has his shirt is bullet ridden. His hoodie's a mess, and he's sweaty, and he's the whole. He kind of walks in, and you imagine, oh my god, he's gotta be used. The man was just hit by a bus. I'm sure. Yes, I know he's fine, but it's still an ordeal, and he's been probably taken across town. You don't know. And he just walks in the scene. And kind of Jessica Jones has like the stun factor of, Luke, are you okay? What happened to you? How are you? It says, I'm fine. And then just wonderfully as a moment of pause, and this like a moment that reminds you of like everything I love about Luke Cage again. Kind of like not as like a dramatic version, like the Dolores Miller comforting Luke Cage. I'm talking like a Luke Cage smile lights up a room, as Mark Bernard would put it. How Mike Coulter can walk into a room and greet all the pregnant women with smiles. That's what Mark Bernard said. Basically, like he met a pregnant woman, he put his hand on her belly. He's like, oh, and she melted in his hands practically. It's, oh, man, that Mike Coulter, he can make anything happen. Luke Cage, he says, I'm fine. Takes a moment of pause, smiles. Actually, I'm better than fine. And we reveal that he goes to like a truck. He opens up the back. White Hat is bound and gagged in the back, and he says, "We got one of theirs." So it's such like a after all this stress and all this big old fight with the hand and everything, it's like, hey, victory, guys, progress. I scored us a home run. Yeah, it's victory.
Dragon, there's a key thing that I noticed with Daredevil right before Luke Cage walks in. Did you notice it?
Oh yeah, that Matt gives a smile because he knows. What's happening.
Yeah. Like before anyone else knows who's coming in, Matt picks up on it and he's like, it's him. All right.
That's nice and that's consistent. I love that sort of stuff. All right. So speaking of Daredevil, it connects to my other moment, and Luke Cage also has a role in that moment.
Okay.
So for me, other big moments. Again, for me, as you can tell by the root image that we start with this evening. I love don't get wrong, the introduction. It was almost gonna be my other moment where he saves Jessica Jones and he's suited up for the first time in the series, and I was like, I remember the marketing for Defenders. I was like, oh my god, Matt Murdock. He doesn't even need to put on the costume. I'm just happy he's there. But at the same time, if they use something simple as put him in the suit, I'm gonna be over the moon happy.
Uh-huh.
see him back in the suit. And one, he's in the suit, and not only is he in the suit, as we have this great cut. So we have Murakami doing like the one good thing he does in the episode, aside from just jumping from the skylight. He says, "There's a problem." Basically, I'm speaking subtitle here, folks, so excuse me. Where he says, "Hey, there's a problem. The Iron Fist. He's found an ally, Daredevil." The minute he says that, we cut to the interrogation scene, which is great, and it's Daredevil in true form as we cut to Daredevil, cut to the Billy Club wrapping around. The Billy Club doing a thing where it has like the carbon, kind of the carbon filament cable that is in the Billy Club. He kind of snaps it and wraps it around his neck. So basically he can interrogate him by kind of cutting off his air supply,
right?
And like kind of manipulating. So he'll give him more air and he'll take it away. More basically kind of getting the blackout now and again. And just then he does it like on a snap. And then we have our heroes for hire on the side here with Danny Rand saying, "Man, that's so cool." And Luke Cage just kind of, again, as great as Luke Cage is, and again, I like that we still have a bit of like almost like a Batman-Superman rivalry between Luke Cage and Daredevil at times, because again, the two most popular of the Netflix characters. Well, it's kind of cool. It's like Luke Cage, as cool as he is, he doesn't get gadgets. As cool as he is, Luke Cage can't get Luke
Cage. I mean, let's face it though, Luke Cage doesn't need gadgets. Dragon.
He doesn't. But I love that he's a little
not
jealous.
At all.
You're right, but I love that he's like a little envious of it. Like, it's cool. It's so wonderful, and again, it's the whole interrogation scene as well. As Charlie Cox is really good there. But what's so great is that I love that you get to see Matt feeding his addiction, and that he knows exactly what interrogation moves to press in this scene of, like, he's ominous, it's unclear. I wish they were a little more clear on this in the writing. Like, you don't know how much the Hand knows. Like, do they know who Daredevil is? Does he not know? Because the point is, like, you can imagine Daredevil has a reputation in the Hand of, he's the guy, he's responsible along with Stick for killing Nobu, and he fought the Hand single-handedly along with Elektra. He fought with Elektra, and many a time he's taken on the Hand single-handedly. So it's the point is, this guy has a reputation, just Daredevil back in full force, and he'd be all these shots are really well composed. Just all of the interrogation stuff, and Daredevil's grand re-entrance in the interrogating, and Matt diving into his demons. Again, he's into his sin, and he's kind of losing himself. And I love the legitimate fear that you get to see, and uneasiness you get to see on Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. Like, Jessica Jones, who's tough as nails, she's like kind of looking at it, like, man, there's something wrong with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
All right. Okay, so my first moment also has to do with the White Hat interrogation, but it's more when White Hat sort of starts to get the upper hand on the situation, verbally at least. So it starts with Iron Fist. He's just kind of chastising Iron Fist. He's like, basically like to the equivalent of, you had one job, to protect your people, and look what happened. All your people are dead. And then he goes to Luke Cage, and he hits Luke Cage very personally. He's like, you couldn't even protect one kid in a jail cell. You couldn't take responsibility for your actions, and now that kid's dead, and now a mother is without her children. And Dragon, I got to say, that's the one that stings the most out of all of them. And then, of course, she goes to Jessica Jones, and he's like, you couldn't save that family. That family's going to crumble now. And worst of all, you're still haunted by, basically he pulls a Purple Man reference, Dragon.
Yeah, essentially. Now, this is important, though. He doesn't like call the guy up by name, obviously, but what he does is he either before he gets to Jessica Jones, like right after he starts the name Jessica Jones, he does point out what the Hand's going to do, and that the Hand's going to go after their loved ones, which again is
important. I think that's after Jessica Jones. Yeah.
Well, and importantly, however that goes, that's definitely kind of bringing to mind, Trish, and like I love how he knows him. He only mentions two, and mainly he knows the woman on the radio, implying Trish, and the nurse, implying Claire, which of course threatens both of them directly. And what he says about in regards to so again, like John, you couldn't save the architect. Now his family's going to be without a father, and she's kind of storming off all peeved and like, oh man, like I don't want to be reminded of all that stuff that happened. And he says, oh, what's wrong? Did I get in your head like he did long ago? And that sets her off.
Triggering point for Jessica. That's and as you were mentioning off air with me, Dragon, I love the visual of Luke as the one person who can physically hold her back. Like that's really good kind of like in the moment displays of their power sets right there.
I can imagine her like full steam, like she's going, she punches him across the room, like takes the chair with her.
All right. And so my next moment, Dragon, so throughout the episode, this white hat guy has just been getting to everyone, right? And it's as I've been saying, it's very much the prisoner's dilemma. It's like, should we kill him? Should we not kill him? No, we're not monsters. And Dragon, I love how it all comes to a head, pun intended. When Stick is just, he basically has the ultimate fuck it moment where Stick takes his signature sword and just lops the head of White Hat right off. Problem solved. We see the head just roll across the floor. And Dragon, I love that for a couple reasons. Of course, it's so abrupt. It almost kind of reminds me of a Breaking Bad level of violence, where there's just kind of almost like an artistic and shocking quality to the violence on display.
Well, at least he didn't put it on a turtle.
Right. But, and of course, as we said, it gives White Hat at least a more memorable death, and he's already actually done more in the context of the series. And I also just really like how going forward, it shows the impulsive nature of Stick and how, Stick is still very dangerous, one way or another, no matter whose side he's on.
Stick loves to dismember things.
Oh, yes. We went on a whole thing, Dragon. Do the list.
Usually, folks, Stick, he loves to dismember, cut off limbs and heads.
Like, I feel like Stick and Rocket Raccoon would get along really well.
Well, famously, yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, that's not going to happen now, sadly. But
anyway, so Stick, he's like in the very beginning, his introduction, I believe he cuts off the guy's hand who pulls a gun on him, emphasizing the hand thing yet again. But I know he cuts off the guy's limb, then he beheads him, so he does that. So he's beheaded that guy. He famously beheaded Nobu, because that's how you kill someone with the healing factor. You behead them. That's usually the most likely way you can kill someone with the healing factor. Cut off the head, or somebody can be brought back. You need a head. You come back, and of course, cutting off his own hand symbolically, and not cover up well with the effect, but symbolically. And ultimately, of course, cutting off White Hat's, which means he's gonna, and it'd be hilarious if Danny or Stick picked up the hat and wore it, but he wasn't wearing his white hat this episode.
Yeah.
But also a fun hat fact though. I don't know if you noticed this. It's kind of bugged the crap out of me. It's something very minor though. It's like Luke Cage has a random hat in this scene.
Oh, God.
Did you notice it? Like one scene.
No, I didn't.
Only in that scene where he's shooting everyone, the thing you were talking about. Luke Cage has a hat that he never wears again.
Oh, man. All right. I'll have to look out for that.
Seriously, he's wearing a knit hat or something on his head, and he has a hood. Why does he need a hat? He never wears the hat. Why is it?
All right. So, yeah, that's ultimately about it. Let's move on to our penultimate segment. Inciting incidents, Dragon. How does this all connect to the more grand scheme of Marvel Netflix as a whole?
Well, we go to Oakland in 1992. No, I'm kidding. Anyway,
God.
Sorry, it's an obscure topical joke about the MCU. But
I have a moment that really kind of stuck out to me in terms of nice foreshadowing, and it's subtle. And that's the first scene that Elektra and Alexandra have together in the episode. Literally starts with Elektra putting a sword straight up to Alexandra's throat.
Yeah. You're right.
I'm just saying, given the fate, given what ultimately goes down between those two, it's a nice little visual, like, hey, this is on the horizon.
Yeah, you're right. No, I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, it's a good one. We have Daredevil out of retirement and in the suit, and again, when he's in the suit, he does kind of possibly inspires Trish as he saves her. She's a little kind of starstruck. Yeah,
sure. As you said, like the Trish, kind of like maybe something's ingrained in Trish's head in that moment that's going to lead into Jessica Jones season 2. Yeah, indeed.
Okay, let's see. She visits, Elektra visits Matt's apartment, and, Elektra is piecing things together in a big way.
I'm going to take a nice little sleepy sleep.
I'm just thinking of Stick, just like somehow, like, if Stick was, like, secretly in that scene somewhere, he's like saying, Oh, Matt, you should have seen her. Well, yeah, you should have sensed her, Matt. She was so cute. No, like in
Oh
the
no! Oh god! Oh god!
You should have. You should have been there, Matt. She was so adorable. You put her down after like killing a bunch of guys in a Chinese restaurant, but she was out. She was all tuckered out. You should have seen her. In her nice little black coat. She looked like a Madeline doll or something.
And then meanwhile, we see like the rest of the defenders off to the side, like, this is the woman who's going on a killing spree we're talking about, right?
And Danny's saying, "Well, I like her."
Oh, yes. Oh my god, absolutely. Perfect.
Okay, anyway, well, a serious note, aside from our fun Elektra headcanon, let's get back on.
Fun Elektra headcanon is exactly what it is, Dragon.
So Trish is looking into the earthquake a little. That's important. I think that pays off. I hope it pays off. Otherwise, because it's been a while, folks. I think they go somewhere with that. Again, we have all of our supporting characters. We got Trish, Malcolm, Karen, Foggy.
Of course, Colleen kind of like starting her arc of like not feeling appreciated, kind of like becoming a full-blown defender in her own right by the end of the series.
Yep, they're all in the police station with Misty Knight. Again, that station's going to be, we're going to come back there in an episode coming up.
The return of Bakuto.
Yep, the return of Bakuto, yes. Murakami is easily taken out twice. So let me get on this real quick. So Murakami. So I mentioned I was taken out very easily by Daredevil, but again, by Elektra. Like one hit, he was taken out by Elektra. One hit!
Yep.
One! You're a big guy. You're big. Oh, I'm so Stick builds this guy up. Come on, Stick. Anyway, Stick, why? You never steered me wrong before. Why? Anyway, we're losing a lot of hand members, or as Stick would like to, or as I guess White Hat would like to put it, cut off a few fingers. You still got a working hand. We lose a couple hand members. A lot of dismemberment, again, tracking with Stick there. Karen and Foggy, they're very concerned over Matt's return. It's almost in kind of like a perennial way when they're together. It's almost like kind of like divorced parents, like with the problem kid almost. Right. I felt bad for Karen and Matt, in that scene, by the way, so they got mentioned. I really wish. I mean, I like that it's not a simple issue, but like, a part of me just wishes like Karen would just like accept him already. But at the same time, yeah, it's Matt's, whether she's in his world or not, she has to be wrapped up in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, because basically, Karen, you deserve better than this, and then she says, "So do you." And I love that we have that "so do you" moment because that makes Karen non-unsympathetic, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and of course, I think the danger with Karen Dragon is, as we've already kind of alluded to, let's just say she's a person who doesn't have an unlimited lifespan on these shows.
Yes. Let's see. So Alexandra warning Elektra that the hand needs Black Sky, which of course it references the whole foreshadowing of the sword. Gal's magic punch.
Yes.
Okay, the Iron Fist hold Bakuto Gal grudge with a whole ridiculous good hand, bad hand callback.
Oh, God. I'm here for you, Colleen.
I'm here for you, Colleen.
God.
We have the, real quick, just get a last thing, because I want to get in there. Last thing with Murakami pisses me off.
Man, okay, go for it.
I'm just saying, the reason all this hand stuff, particularly like bugs me, is because Wilson Fisk, and one of the great things with the Kingpin, I got like the best barometer to judge this by. We established that he's afraid of the hand. Like he knows that the hand is like the Kingpin legitimately is intimidated by the hand. Like Gal he has a rapport with, but more so with Nobu. He didn't want to trifle with Nobu. That's why he kind of manipulated Nobu to go against Daryl, so he would take care of the Nobu problem. Because he's very much if he was afraid of Nobu. I mean, I should be terrified of this guy. If Wilson Fisk is afraid of Nobu, I should be afraid of this guy. And it's pitiful.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. The thematic color scheme I was mentioning before, the red and the purple mixed together. The defenders coming apart. They're definitely gonna be broken apart by the next episode. Things are gonna come loose thanks to you. Colleen pulling a Yoko with Iron Fist. There's a lot of ridiculous distrust with Matt over him keeping a secret to protect a loved one, which I still think is a BS reason, but we need it for plot. Stick. Okay, this is important. Stick is asking Matt to lead the team. Of course, would be the big payoff with all of the Stick stuff is Matt being the position of leading the charge for the war. So again, that's the big payoff of all the Stick stuff from the very beginning is what we're hinting at here.
Mm-hmm.
Also, again, I like that Stick is he's that whole. I guess I was getting soft in my old age. There, where again, Stick was trying to save Matt from being in this position. It's like he tried to not put him in that. Cut off the connection you have to your loved ones because this day is coming. So you have the kind of that fatherly kind of dynamic where, again, he is giving Matt his due in these last episodes we've been having. Danny trusting Stick, and of course, this is additionally fueling his foolish fire.
Yeah.
I guess lastly, a lot of Rand-owned buildings. Now he has a Chinese restaurant, and he has like this abandoned warehouse he's kind of working with. Right,
like accumulating a real estate collection through the series, Dragon.
Lex Luthor would approve. It's all about real estate. It's all about real estate, and of course, the Daughters of the Dragon, which I mentioned. Or
Stewie Griffin from that one random Family Guy cutaway joke. Ooh, it's good to have land.
Okay, that's funny. Also, from I keep thinking whenever it's so funny. I keep thinking. I think it was the Christmas episode. I think it was the Christmas special for Charlie Brown Christmas, where Lucy said, "Lucy, what do you want for Christmas? Real estate."
Yep.
It's great. So again, the Daughters of the Dragon. And the Daughters of the Dragon are also mentioned. That's again, that's hinted at.
Yeah, Daughters of the Dragon, of course, and then also the Heroes for Hire, kind of in the fringes of the action a little bit. Kind of still flirting around with that idea.
Sure. I think it's good. I think it's
all right. So, Dragon, it's time to get to the end of the episode and ask the daring question:
Who's for Chinese?
Who's for Chinese? It's so mysterious it had to cut off half of Danny Rand's face.
Danny, why do you have a question mark over your face? I want to see your face. Everyone else but Matthew is mean to me, but not you, Danny.
Oh, and I could totally see Danny. Oh boy. Oh god. Hey, Lecture's not so bad, you guys. I mean, sure, she goes on killing sprees, but we all have our off days.
Danny, I'm going to try to kill you later, but I'll be your best friend.
Oh my god. Okay,
we can go splash in the blood and make handprints. It'll be fun.
It will be your blood, Danny.
It'll be like Grauman's Chinese theater. It'll be fun.
Okay, now I'm just picturing Elodie Young playing like a grown-up version of the Shining twins.
Who would the other one be?
Her. It would be like just a twin effect. They'd both be her.
Oh, okay.
Anyways. Okay, so final thoughts on my end, Dragon. I got to admit, talking through the episode a little bit, I'm a bit more forgiving of the flaws just because I think with the stuff with the hand, while incompetent, is still fun to watch at the very least and fun to talk about. So that makes up for it a little bit. It's not boring by any stretch. It's still got some good character stuff. And I'd wager to bet that episode 7 is probably going to be worse. But it's still not a shining point in the series, I think, especially for something that has, all those characters all in one scene. It's basically neglected to like, hey, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here. I don't know. I think they could have done something more with that, with the whole crossover appeal of it. And it is kind of a good prisoner's dilemma type thing, type storyline that we've got going on. It's just not a real big highlight for me. It's definitely it definitely continues the drive of the series. I just think at this point some of the flaws start to show a little bit. Some of the cracks in the armor start to form. So, while a good story, it's definitely not perfect.
Right. For me, the episode, I feel it stalls a little and has a few flaws. Because again, while when we kind of go to get these guys and put them in protection, that's not bad, but it is taking time away from the main story. Because I
just wish that something more was done with them. That's my thing.
Like, think about this, with the exception of the whole again, while it does again. it's a head scratcher with the whole Murakami of it all. But when they save, when we save Trish and Jessica, that scene is honestly, out of all of them, it's the most necessary. Everything else though is just, okay, we need the show. We could just cut to we could do the old Vince Gilligan kind of the editing kind of trick here, where he says, in TV, you could just very simply save yourself a lot of time and money. Just cut to them. Okay, we just mention in dialogue and we have them all there. You could do that, but again, like I don't. It's not a bad call, but at the same time, it feels like it's eating up screen time we could do for other things, or potentially like stuff we could use to fix the hand. Maybe you never know. But anyway, so I think in that regard, the episode stalls a little. It definitely has a few flaws, but the hand stuff, I feel. The hand stuff, in certain respects, is like the hand is while it's not utilized properly, it's utilized more than it was in the last episode. The last episode, the hand was kind of forced in there. Here, the hand felt natural, but naturally misrepresented. It's great. It's great to see Matt return to the suit. I'm loving all that stuff, but again, the one thing that kind of takes away my enjoyment of that is that at the tail end, where we kind of have that forced distrust among the team, with the Elektra secret. Again, just hinging it all on like, hey, you kept Elektra's secret because you love this woman, yet all of these people who really only care about Claire is in danger. Matt, I'm Luke Cage for crying out loud. How can you do this to me? So again, like that feels a little forced over, like, again, I think it should be a thread should be pulled, not just like an explosion should have gone off, let's say. So very much it's an episode about protection, about protecting your connections and who you are at risk of alienating those bonds. I think the episode, the concept of the episode's not bad, and again, there's a lot of redeeming factors, but writing wise, the wheels are slow, like the rivets are coming out of the tires as the car is kind of going down, is racing towards the finale. That's the best way to put it. Like the wheels aren't off. Like the car is still moving, but it's starting to wobble. It's like from the National Lampoon's Vacation, after like the guy bilks them for the tires, and like they're all wobbly. It's like
don't worry, honey, the car's still moving.
That's the thing. Like, this is the wobbly tire episode of Defenders. So again, it's still working. It's still fine. It's like, hey, it's still the grand vehicle, the MCU Netflix vehicle we all know and love. But you know what? Wheels are slowly coming off.
All right. So Dragon, I do have high hopes for a rewatch of episode 6. Episode 6, I'm excited about. I think it's going to be the high point of the back half of season 1 of Defenders. But until then, folks, now we separate. Until next time, when Netflix's New Yorkers summon us to mull over the Marvel microcosm that is the Defenders. I've come for you, Colleen.